here from The Buried Life, and today is the final finished product of my very first lava base. So what you can end up seeing there, I am a noob when it comes to painting Warhammer little figures, things off of my resin printer, because I don't want to pay the exorbitant prices by Games Workshop. So with that being said, I decided to get into this miniature painting thing after not painting anything for over 46 years. And before that, my painting experience was the army truck is green, the airplane is gray, and that was the extent of my artistic abilities. So this is the very first of hopefully a few more of these lava bases, as I've got some characters that I want to put on these lava stands, which should look really cool. But I've had a number of people ask me what are the steps that I took to do this, and I'm going to do a tutorial video on how I did it. And of course I couldn't have done it without all the suggestions, because my first iteration needed a lot of help, and I want to say thanks to everybody for all the suggestions, the tips, and the pictures of lava, which, yeah, I probably should have done that at the very beginning if I wanted to paint a lava base. Probably looking at pictures of lava and lava rock would probably have helped immensely. So anyway, I'm glad that you all had my back. This is just kind of a general information, a general step or guide of how I did it. I'm actually going to do a tutorial video, but I'm going to be going on vacation soon, so I'm going to have to get that when I get back from vacation. But with that said, enough people have asked me what are the steps? How did you do it? What is your workflow for this lava base? And so I figured I'd do a quick little video, maybe 5 or 10 minutes long, and show you the paints that I use, the process, and of course using all the suggestions of you experienced painters to make this thing look really awesome. So anyway, thank you very much for that, and let's get into the video. So there it is, the finally finished very first lava base, and I think that turned out really, really well. Watched way too many videos on YouTube, but like I said, yeah, I think this turned out really well, and we're going to go over some of the steps that I used to get to this point, and thanks to a lot of improvements and suggestions from the people out in the interwebs giving me, this is the final result. First of all, you're going to need a base, and the base that I use, I just printed out some real cheap ones. I mean, you can't get any cheaper than that. And I decided, well, let's practice and we'll do a lava base. So boom, have the base. Ended up getting a little bit of cork board, and what I ended up doing is just tearing out some pieces and to kind of have like a lava flow with some, I don't know, some features in there. So basically, when I end up putting a character on there, that it would look something like that. And so he's kind of straddling the lava. So what I ended up doing is tearing those out of the cork board, and it turned out in that configuration. And so I had initially one layer here, or 2 layers here, and then I ended up having 2 layers here. Now the problem is that in the original, everything was flat, so it didn't really look like lava rock at all. And so some people suggested and said, hey, you need to dig into the cork or something like that. So I had the idea of taking said cork and tearing it up into tiny little shreds. And what I ended up doing is getting some PVA glue. In case you're wondering why that's in Korea, is because I'm living in Korea. And so I put a bunch of that on here and poured a bunch of this on there to get the texture. That definitely looks a lot more like lava rock than having flat pieces of cardboard, which painted black just looks like black painted corkboard. So anyway, we did that, and then what I ended up doing, because if you notice on this base, I didn't want that texture. I wanted to have a lava texture. So the Vallejo Ground Texture acrylic, and in white, what I ended up doing is spreading it around the base after I glued the cork on there, and used just like a little tool like this and to be able to get some swirls and things in there, and some little bit of flow patterns. So that was what I did with that, and it covered up the base pretty well. You'd never guess that this base was used for this lava base. So we ended up doing that, and then once that was done, we took some Army Painter matte white and we painted everything in the lava flow. Yep. And I should also say, also ended up painting matte black. And going back in time, in hindsight, what I would end up doing is putting the cork board on here, or the cork, sealing that in by using a matte varnish. And so that way, when you go ahead and you put your paint colors on, like your black, it will actually adhere. So yeah, that's probably a step I would improve upon and do it in that order. Again, hindsight is 20/20. So again, we painted the lava flow, the entirety of the lava flow, with this matte white, and come in here with either a demonic yellow, and I think what I ended up using was actually moon dust. So if I was going to do it again, I don't know, one of those two. But I used moon dust, but maybe the demonic yellow would be kind of good because it's got a little bit extra color. So yeah, it's probably 6 of one, half dozen of the other. And then what I ended up doing was painting in some orange, some lava orange. I mean, if you're gonna do a lava base, you gotta have lava orange. And then I ended up with some pure red and going on the edges of that. And then what I ended up doing is going back in a very few spots, kind of putting in some matte white on there to show the really super hot spots. And then I went back because some recommendations were that, yeah, I didn't have any speckles on top of the lava flow. And so I went back and put those on there, and it ends up, you can see the black in there, and it looks a little bit more realistic. Once I did that, and I was happy with the lava, I went with the Vallejo Gloss Varnish and varnished everything. That's why it looks like it has this wet look, and I think that did well. So with that out of the way, then what I ended up doing is, with the cork, is using the matte varnish, and did that again because I added these little things afterwards on the second iteration of this, after the suggestions. And once that was all in there, again, I varnished it to hold it in there. Then I repainted it black again, and then I went over and dry brushed with uniform gray with a tiny bit of black in there, because this was just too gray. And so I added just a little bit of black in there and dusted this thing off. And as you can see, we got the recesses that are in there are dark. And then of course we have the gray and the dry brush. And then other people also recommended that I do dry brushing, which is what I end up, kind of doing around these rock edges to simulate the glow of the lava onto the rocks itself. So I think that turned out kind of good, and did a combination of red and orange, that pure red and lava orange, and I think that worked out well. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. And some people had made a point and said, well, that's awesome, that's great. This is my first one, so, beginner's luck. Probably. That probably had something to do with it. But I also watched a shit ton of videos, and hopefully we'll find a home for this guy here, which I said I wasn't going to paint, but I'm going to go ahead and start painting him, and he's going to end up kind of be hovering above this. So put some distressed look on him, and I think that'll turn out really well. So yeah, those are the steps that I ended up doing for the lava base. And yeah, it's just a crappy little little base. It's a base that I printed out, and you can see it's a little deformed, but it's when I got my resin printer, and I didn't really know much about painting. I only started painting about 7-8 months ago, and before that, the last time I painted was like 46 years ago. So yeah, I'm a bit old, but yeah, we got some little army painters, we got some Citadel paints that we put into dropper bottles. I should have done this a long time ago. So yeah, just this is my little workstation. So I got some other guys over here that I'm gonna do lava bases for those guys. So for the people that were like, you know, that's great and everything, but can you do it, you know, with multiple bases? Well, now that I have the steps written down on what I did, I shouldn't be a problem. And especially now that I fine-tuned everything with this and the help of all of you all with your awesome suggestions, I think this works out really well. But I think what I might end up doing, since this guy over here has like a jetpack on him, once I get finished with him and I got him pinned on a wire down here, paperclip wire, I'll just go ahead and do a hole in here somewhere, and so that he'll be kind of flying above the lava rock, which I think will be kind of cool. It'll give a little bit more 3D dimensionality, if that's a word, and we'll just kind of call that it. So yeah, that's how I ended up doing the lava rock base, my very first one, and I think it turned out really well. I think for, I guess, the best bang for your buck is to have something to where you're either straddling, but you definitely get a sense of flow. Like I kind of put this into 3 parts. So you've got a mass here, a bigger mass here, and then a small one there. And to kind of break that up, and you can get some more colors and definition in there, and it makes it more interesting. You could turn it around. And if you end up pinning your miniature, then you could put it wherever you want it on here. So the next thing will be to actually do the next one and in a configuration of the cork so it doesn't look the exact same as this. So we want to do the same in regards to the process and the look of the lava and so on and so forth, but we don't want a carbon copy of, you know, and having 6 or 7 or 8 of these that all look the exact same. So I'm gonna have to come up with some different configurations and kind of play around with that and see how it goes. But yeah, the dry brushing turned out really well. So again, I haven't really dry brushed a lot, but I think this turned out well. So yeah, with that being said, that is the lava base. So for those of you who are interested, I think I'm going to try to make a video. I'm supposed to be going to Hawaii soon, so I don't know if I'll get it before I go to Hawaii, but I will definitely do a video when I get back. So that's it. Yeah. Alrighty. Hope you appreciate it. Take care. Peace. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to stay up to date with what's going on with us, the Varied Life, as we're retired in Korea. We'll see you on the next video. Peace.